So now we'll start with, I hope everything is fine. PPT visible? Is it PPT is visible now? Yes or no? Is it PPT is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So I'm not going because there is some small derivation is for elimination approach. That is not because already explained, but finally we'll go for some practical example. This is the one practical example. So elimination approach of handling boundary condition. So even you are given the one stepped bar. So most of the time, so here Q1 is 0. I am given the same example to understand better. So that is fan example. If fan is not mounted properly by clamps, so at fixed end there may be slight slackness. Because of that, there is a small amount of the deformation or the movement or displacement about this point. So if there is a small amount of displacement about this point, so this point is we have the given as Q1. The displacement at node 1 is Q1. So most of the cases you are taking Q1 is equal to 0. But so whenever there is a small the deviation or there is a small displacement at node 1, your Q1 value become A1. That you have to remember. Q1 value become A1. So that is referred as non-zero boundary condition. So why non-zero boundary condition is important for heat transfer is, so instead of displacement where temperature is not zero. So already you have dealt with some problem where temperature T1 is equal to 20 degrees Celsius or T3 is equal to 50 degrees Celsius, etc. In such cases, you have to slightly modify the elimination approach of handling boundary condition. Now we have node 1 and node 1, node 2, node 3. The corresponding displacements are Q1, Q2, Q3. At node 1, there is a small amount of displacement that is given by Q1. That is given by Q1. Now I'm not going into this detail about derivations. So now I'll come to this particular case. This is one example for how to apply non-zero boundary condition for structural problem. So now same example. So Q1. So because of slight, imagine it is connected to the wall by with nut and bolt or some riveted joint. Because of that, there is a small slackness. That's why it can move by a small amount. It is given by Q1. The displacement about this point it is not 0. It is given by A1. So now we have, if you consider finite element method, so you are divided this into 3 element, no 2 element, node 1 and node 2. Then Q1 is not equal to 0 because, so this slackness, I have given an example of mounting the fan by plastic wire, mounting the fan by the nut and bolt system. So that is, whatever you do, that you have to express in terms of stiffness. So imagine this fan is mounted by a heavy spring at the top. So now there is a small amount of deformation of the spring. That deformation is given by A1. In general, at node 1, there is a small amount of deformation is allowed because of slackness or mounting problem or fastening effect, etc. That is given by A1. In such cases, so you have to modify the force vector. We have force vector. This is the equilibrium equation. K11, K2. Imagine already you have found out stiffness matrix for the element 1. Then you have found out stiffness matrix for the element 2. Then you have found out the global stiffness matrix. The finally end with this value. This is the final global equilibrium equation. So now at node 1 boundary condition given, we cannot eliminate just first row and first column. So other than eliminating first row and first column, you have to do small modification on force vector that is given here. So this is the boundary condition. The before application of the this is the equilibrium equation before application of boundary condition. So now you are eliminated first row and first column. So once you eliminate first row and first column, we can see here original order of the stiffness matrix is 3 by 3. It is reduced to 2 by 2. So there is no change in stiffness matrix. Just you are eliminated first row of the stiffness matrix and first column of the stiffness matrix. Here you can see that we are eliminated first row and as well as first column of the stiffness matrix, even the first row of displacement vector, but there is a change in the force vector. We have F2 and F3, those are the original force values or force vector, minus, we can see here, we are eliminated to first row, first column, so we have K21. So K21, if you go for regular multiplication, matrix multiplication, K21 into Q1. So K21 is a constant. So Q1 is also constant. Q1 is equal to A1. K21 into Q1 will come into picture one equation. In the derivation, all those derived things are there. But from the examination point of view, if you remember how to modify the force vector, that is sufficient. We have K21 into Q1. There's the first term. So Q1 is nothing but A1. First term of the second equation is K21 into Q1. So Q1 is equal to A1 or K21 into A1. That's why the K21 is constant. A1 is also given, it is also constant. We have the constant on the left hand side of the equation. So now you are moving the constant to the right side of the equation. So same thing is given. We have F2. On the left hand side, we have K21 into A1. That goes to the right side. In the similar way, if you come to third equation, we have K31. First term of the third equation is K31 into A1 or Q1, or that will be K31 into Q1. That's also equal to K31 into A1. So K31 into A1 is constant, where displacement is given. So when A1 is constant, K31 is constant, then product of those two constants are again constant. Hence, you are moving the constant term to the right side. We can see here F3 minus K31 into A1. That's the one from the fundamental you can remember. So one more option is you can remember you are eliminating first row. So when you are eliminating first row, anyhow it is gone, and first column also you are eliminating. When you are eliminating the first column, the K21 should goes to right side. You are eliminated first column, so K21 is goes to right side, get the K21 into your A1, that your displacement or boundary condition. Similarly, you are eliminating K31. Eliminating means you are taking K31 to the right side. So this K31 goes to right side. Here we can see this is same K3. In the left side we have K31. So that K31 we have moved to right side. In the left side of K22 we have K21 that is moved to the right side. That is K21. So into, so what is the boundary condition is given? Q1 is equal to A1. Then remaining procedure same, no change. But if A1 is equal to 0, suppose if A1 is 0, it is nothing but 0 boundary condition. At node 1, Q1 is equal to 0. Then this term will vanishes. Finally, we have F1 minus 0 because A1 is 0, F2. So that's equal to F1, F2. What we have done for the structural problems, the same, it comes back to the same condition. Just if A1 is equal to 0 or Q1 is equal to 0, just you have to eliminate first row and first column. If A1 or Q1 is not equal to 0, so even though after eliminating first row and first column, you have to modify the force vector. Whatever the terms on the left hand side, that goes to the right side. So that is one case. In some cases, when it comes to heat transfer, the temperature may be given on the right side wall. Imagine we have a finite element method, for a finite element. So 1, 2, 3. The boundary condition is given at the node 3. Let it be T3 is equal to, let it be 20 degrees given. That is boundary condition. In such cases, you have to remember here. So now we have the original stiffness matrix, or let it be your thermal conductivity matrix, into your displacement vector. This is the global equilibrium equation. In the global equilibrium equation, as displacement is given at node 3 or boundary condition is given at node 3, you have to eliminate third column and third row. That you are familiar. As node 3 boundary condition is given, hence you are eliminating third row and third column. That's the first part. But if it is Q3, just we can eliminate third row as well as third column. But in our case, Q3 is equal to A3. It is referred as A3 or sometimes it is referred as A0 because there is you are applying the force from this direction. Imagine if your fan is mounted on the right wall, you are pulling the fan. So even though it is mounted rigidly onto the wall, there may be slight movement. That movement is given by A3. You can remember like that. for non-zero boundary condition. So now, so what you have to do is, here we are eliminating third row, third column and third row. Then you have to modify the force vector. Modifying the force vector means, so there is no change in the stiffness matrix. Just you are eliminated first row and first column. Remaining is K11, K2. It is reduced to 2 by 2 matrix, that you are familiar. And your displacement vector is also reduced to 2 by 2 matrix. Only force vector you have to modify. After K12, we have, after K12 we have K13. That you are eliminated. Eliminated means you are the K13 into A3 is a constant. The last term of the first equation is, if you multiply these two matrices, the last term of this equation is K13 into A3, then K23 into A3, that's the last term of the second equation, and last term of the third equation is K33 into A3. Those are the constant, because K13 is constant, A3 is also constant, K23 also constant, K33 also constant. Because those are the constant, normally when you solve the equation, if there is some constant, imagine we have 2x plus 2x is equal, 2x plus 4 is equal to 0. Let imagine you have the equation. You have to find out the value of x. We have the original equation 2x plus 4 is equal to 0. What you are doing is, you are moving the 4 to the right side. So that means 2x is equal to minus 4. So in the similar way, so we have moving this constant term to the right side. So in the simple way, we can the one more way to remember is, we are eliminating first row and first column. We have resultant matrix. We have F1, F2. So on the right hand side, this K, after K12, we have K13. That should be moved to the right side. So that means we have, after K12, we are, even though we are eliminated, so we have eliminated K2. So K23 here original position, no, K13. In our case, it is K13. The K13 goes to right side. The K13 into A3 goes to right side. After K22, we have K33. So this K33 goes to, I think it is not K23. No, it is second term. K2, K23. The K23 term goes to right side. This is K23 into A3. So in general, you have to remember, whenever there is a application of the boundary condition for non-zero boundary condition, especially in the temperature, the heat transfer, other than eliminating for corresponding rows, you have to modify the force, modify the force vector or heat force vector. That is the conclusion from this. I think these notes I'll share, because these problems are not given in most of the books. These examples are not given. Myself, I have written some sketches, for corresponding sketches. I updated the boundary condition to understand better. I'll share it. So it will be helpful for applying boundary condition, especially for the heat transfer. Now we'll we'll discuss the same boundary condition when it comes to heat transfer. So yesterday we were discussing, I think, is it PPT is visible now? Yes or no? Please.
No, sir.
No?
We can't see, sir.
Okay, just. Earlier it was visible, no? Earlier?
Yeah, sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay. Now it is visible. Is it now visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So already we have done this problem. Just I want to, now I am concentrating more on the how we can apply boundary condition. This is the fin. So fin means there are two types of cooling system for automotive. So one is air cooling and one more is the water cooling. The most of the two-wheelers, almost all two-wheelers, it is available in the market, but the air-cooled engines. So now, so whatever the amount of heat generated inside the engine, there should be some amount of the heat is converted to work by moving the piston forward and backward. Finally, it connected to the drive system, etc., etc. You are familiar with all those things, and some amount of heat is still in the material itself. If you are not extracting those heat from the engine will be get overheated. So once engine get overheated, so it causes lot of problems. The first problem it causes is the piston will get stuck inside the cylinder. To avoid that, we should have sufficient mechanism to extract the heat from the engine. That's why the water cooling is one method. So one more is air cooling. In the case of air cooling, so if the surface area exposed to the atmosphere is more, so then there is a more amount of heat transfer or more amount of heat is extracted or removed from the engine. But if you have regular engine only without any fins or projection, the area is very less. To increase the surface area, you are putting the fins. You might have observed in the two-wheeler also. If you are not observed, just observe closely. There is a small projection, like a small plates are welded or mounted on the outer surface of the engine. So now imagine this is the engine. This is the outside surface of the engine. You are mounting the fins. So once you mount the fin, so now surface area of this original surface area we have different. Now surface area is increases. That is the purpose of using fin. I hope whether it was started in your heat transfer or not, but I think in heat transfer also you are studying. And when you come to finite element method, we have the fin. The fin can be divided into two element or three element, two element or three element. Now in this case, it is divided into three element. So element one, you have to find out what is the amount of heat transferred to the atmosphere. The element two, so how much amount of heat is transferred to the atmosphere by convection. So from the engine to the fin, heat is transferred through conduction process. From fins to the surface or ambient or surrounding medium, the heat is transferred by convection. That's why there is a one more, the matrix, that is nothing but a convection matrix. Convective heat transfer coefficient is different, that is a H. And in the similar way, there is a convective heat transfer matrix because the heat is transferred from the fin to the surrounding medium by convection. So then heat is transferred from the wall of the engine to the fin through conduction. From this point to this point, complete heat is transferred by conduction. Conduction is nothing but we have conduction as well as convection. And if you consider top surface of the fin and as well as bottom surface of the fin, that this surface area is more. Top surface of the surface area is more, bottom surface area is more, and compared to this small cross section area. Hence, in some application you are assuming that the fin, the tip of the fin is insulated. Strictly speaking, it is not insulated by putting rubber pad, etc. So because surface area, suppose total amount of heat transferred to the surrounding medium by the top surface of the fin is 1000 watt, and below surface, horizontal surface, that will be another 1000 watt. But in the tip of the fin, this we can see the small cross section area. Here we can see there is a area. So this area heat may be amount of heat lost to the surrounding may be only 1 watt or 2 watt or 10 watt compared to 1000 watt. So 1 watt or 2 watt is very, very less. That can be neglected. So how much amount of heat is transferred from this surface to the surrounding medium, that can be neglected. Hence it is referred as insulated, where Q is equal to 0. That's a one more boundary condition. Now when you come to this, so now we have metallic fin with thermal conductivity so and so, all values are given, already we have discussed. We have given H value is given, the H is value is given, and you have given, they are given K value also, everything is given. Now we have divided the fin into three element because the intention I have taken, I have done the problems for the three element. There are some problems where the fin is divided into only two element, it will be simpler. Now first one is thermal conductivity matrix, but in general you have to remember So A value is normally you are taking as 1 meter square. Even if sometimes if they given area normal to the heat transfer, conduction heat transfer is let it be 50, some value is given 50 mm square, etc. Then only you have to consider. Otherwise, we can neglect A. Most of the time it will be neglected. But we can write A, but we can put 1. That's the 1. So we have to find out K1, K1, K2, K3. After finding out the K1, K2, K3, you have to find out global stiffness matrix, not stiffness matrix, global thermal conductivity matrix. We have the global thermal conductivity matrix. It is same as bar problem. So now this is the global thermal conductivity matrix. So when you come to fins, other than global convective matrix, you have to remember this matrix formula. So why we require conduction matrix is through the fin, the heat is transferred from the, let it be from engine wall to the fin through conduction process. That's why you have to consider the conduction thermal conductivity matrix also. From surface of the fin to the surrounding medium, heat is transferred or removed from the fins by heat. We can consider the elemental convective heat transfer matrix that is given by H into LE divided by 3T. But there is a long derivation is there. I'll take some extra classes, or after finishing some important portion of the vibration dynamic analysis, I'll do that derivation, or I'll take some extra classes if you don't get. So now this is H matrix. That is this is the extra matrix you have to remember when you come to fin. So now similarly you have to find out H1 matrix, H2, and finally you have to get Ht matrix. So the general equation for thermal conductivity equation is before that I'll finish this. So now there is on the right hand side Kt is equal to Rq, or it is when you come to fin it is referred as R infinity. So R infinity is nothing but R infinity formula is different from compared to your convection. If it is there is only conduction, there are three types of problems in your heat transfer. One is only conduction, and second one is conduction combined with convection. Then one more is the fins, heat transfer through the fins. So when you come to heat transfer to the fins, so this matrix is referred as R infinity. R infinity. In the previous case, you referred as RQ, I think, but here it is referred as R infinity. So that is nothing but a heat force vector or generation vector. Heat generation because of the convective because of convective heat transfer. We have, this is the formula that you have to remember. So where T refer to thickness of the thickness of the fin, thickness of the spring is nothing but this one. This is the thickness. Somewhere they'll give the dimension. So that is the thickness of the fin. So now you have to find out convective heat transfer matrix for the element 1, element 2, and finally you have to get H3. Then on the right hand side we have heat force vector. It is nothing but your force vector in your bars, trusses, etc. On the right hand side you have force vector. Here force vector is replaced by the thermal heat force vector. The thermal heat force vector for the fin is different. I think if I may give some formula for only conduction, convection, or only for fins, but from your side also you can one piece of paper you write down. You can write down the formula for only conduction. What are the formula? Only convection, conduction combined with convection. What are the formulas you have to use? And one more set of formula is only for the fins. The except thermal conductivity matrix, other matrix or H matrix or R infinity matrix are different. This matrix is nothing but the force vector, or it is also referred as heat force vector. That will comes to the right side of the equilibrium equation. This is the formula. From the formula, you have to find out H, R1, R2, R infinity, R3, and finally we have R infinity final equation. Now we have Kt is equal to R infinity. Here K matrix consists of thermal conductivity matrix and convective heat transfer matrix. So this first matrix is global thermal conductivity matrix. This matrix is the global convective heat transfer matrix, because when you come to the fin, within the fin or within the solid material of the fin, the conduction heat transferred by conduction, hence you are considering the conduction matrix. And from surface of the fin to the surrounding medium, heat is transferred by convection heat transfer. So hence you have to consider one more matrix, that is nothing but a H matrix or convective heat transfer matrix. You have to add those two. It is not like adding 1 to 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. It is simple addition only. If you consider first term, we have 10800. You studied matrix addition. It is not like adding K1, K is equal to K1, K2, K3. You have to see the DOF, etc. When you come to this summation, it is just your mathematical matrix addition. We have matrix normally referred as A. This is the matrix A. This is matrix B. From A and B, you have to get the matrix C. C is equal to matrix A plus matrix B. It is 1-to-1 addition. 10800 here 198. 10800 plus 198. Why I am stressing this? When you find out the thermal conductivity matrix, it is K1, K is equal to K1, K2, K3. It is not matrix addition. Depending upon the degrees of freedom 1, 2, 3, you have to get the final global matrices. Then when you add K1 matrix, maybe 2 by 2, K2 is 2 by 2, K3 is equal to 2 by 2 matrix. But your K matrix is not 2 by 2. So K matrix is maybe the 3 by 3, 4 by 4 matrix. But when you're going for this particular matrix summation, it is like a C is equal to A plus B. Matrix C is equal to A plus B. This is matrix A. This is matrix B. It is nothing but a 1-to-1 addition. This is, imagine this is the first row and first column. The first row and first column of the KT matrix should be added with the first row and first column of H matrix. That difference you should be able to understand. Then you are now you will come to important point is elimination method. So you are eliminating, because other than that you have to put H value also. Somewhere I think I have put. No, we'll come to that. Now, so now we have final K matrix. After addition of these two, we have final K matrix. The final K matrix comes here. This is the final K matrix. This is T1 is equal to T0, because on the left side wall where the fin is mounted onto the engine wall, so it is temperature is known that T1 is equal to T0. That T0 is also given. T0 is equal to 235. So you are eliminating first row and first column. After eliminating first row and first column, so now you have to change the force vector, heat force vector. It is not just subtract eliminating first row and first column. So when you eliminating, finally end with 3 by 3 matrix. When you come to your K matrix, so there is no change in K matrix. You have to put remaining term here. So it start from 21996, and this will be eliminated. We are end with resultant matrix K matrix. We are not going to change the K matrix. So now this is the temperature vector. Only you are eliminated T1. So hence we have T2, T3, and T4. So there is no change here. That's equal to, this is the original. This is the original heat force vector minus. So your easiest way to remember is on the left hand side we have 1 minus 10701. This is the second row. The second row first column we have 10701. This goes to right side, because first term in the, imagine we have 4 matrix, order of the matrix is 4 by 4 matrix. The 4 by 4 we have 4 equation. If you consider second equation, the first term of the second equation is minus 10701 into T1. The T1 is T0. That it is given, so 235. So that means 10701 into 235 is the constant. Hence you are taking, you are not eliminating, strictly speaking, you are not eliminating when you come to non-zero boundary condition. You are moving this term to the right side. We have 102701. It goes to the right side. You can see here 10701 into T0. T0 is 235. But here also you are not eliminating, you are removing 0. 0 goes to right side here. This is the original matrix, R infinity matrix. 0 into 235. This term also goes to right side. That is 0 into 235. So this part you have to little bit careful when you are applying the non-zero boundary condition, especially for the heat transfer. Even though you are eliminating first row and first column, you have to modify the force vector appropriately. So now afterwards, so now you have to find out T1, T2, T3 by using your calculator. We can find out T1, T2, T3. I think I forgot to put the values T1, T2, T3. So now question is here is, so now you have divided the complete fin into three equal number of parts. You have to find out what is the amount of heat transfer from the first element of the fin, the second element of the fin, and third element of the fin. But we know the temperature at different location. We come to the first one. So we know the temperature at T1. After the simplification, we got the value of T1. We know the temperature at T2. We know the temperature at T3. We know the temperature at T4. This is T1, T2, T3, T4. For fin 1, element 1, this is element 1, this is element 2, this is element 2, element 3. For element 1, at one node temperature is T1, at other node temperature is T2. Then what temperature you have to consider? But we require to find out how much amount of heat is transferred from the element 1 to the surrounding medium. So now when you consider temperature, so element 1 temperature is not T1 or element 1 temperature is not T2. It is the average temperature of T1 and T2. Suppose we want to know what is the average temperature of element 1. So average temperature of element 1 is equal to T1 plus T2 divided by 2. In the similar way, average temperature for element 2 is given by T2 plus T3 divided by 2. Average temperature for element 3 is T3 plus T4 divided by 2. In simple way, if the temperature at node 3 is, let it be 500 degrees Celsius. If the temperature at node 4 is 600 degrees Celsius, the 500 plus 600, so that means 1100 degrees Celsius. The average temperature is divided by 2, that is 650. Or here it is 500, here it is 600. The average temperature of the element 3 is the 550. That's why you have to take the average. Same thing is done here. So now total heat loss, we have formula, you studied in heat transfer also. The total heat loss by convection is given by H into T average. I am just modified the formula, T average of the element minus T infinity. Normally it is T surface into area of convective heat transfer, not not your conduction heat transfer. Area is a surface area where your heat transfer takes place by convection. So now we require T average. You have to find out what is the heat loss by the element 1. Similarly, what is the heat loss by element 2 by using this formula. You have to find out what is the heat loss by the element 3. So before that, we required what is the average temperature, that already we discussed. The average temperature, the element 1 is equal to node 1 temperature plus node 2 divided by 2. The T1 already we have 235. T2 we have calculated, that we have divided by 2. Finally, average temperature of element 1 is 222. The left node temperature is 235. The right side node temperature is 209. The average temperature is 224 degrees Celsius. Similarly, for the element 2, I am putting a superscript. The superscript refers to the element. So it is given by T2 plus T3. The finally we have average temperature of the element 2. This is the average temperature of the element 3. So now you have to find out what is the heat loss by the element 1. The same formula, only average temperature you have to consider. The heat loss by element 2. So again same formula with the average temperature average temperature of the element 2. And Q3, that is total heat transfer through the material 3, that is convective heat transfer. We'll get some value after simplifying, etc. So finally this total heat loss is equal to the heat loss by the element 1 plus heat loss by the element 2 and heat loss by the element 3. So that is finishes your problems on fins. Now we'll go to vibration. So first I'll do one problems on vibration so that next class we'll go for the derivations. One or two problems. Now this is comes under the bar. So you are familiar with, I think, is the PPT is visible now? Because I opened the new file. I hope it is visible. Yes or no? Is it PPT is visible now? Gautam or check?
Yes, sir.
Huh? Okay. Now you are familiar with the vibration of the cantilever beam. If you are not familiar, then once again I have sent URL in the group. Just go through. It moves up and down in simple way, like a flagpole during our trees. Also during if it heavy wind or rainy season, it moves its face. It moves forward and backward. Even flag casting pole also moves backward and forward. Flag casting pole is again comes under beam. So one end is fixed. It's a special case of cantilever beam. That is the vibration of the beam. So in the similar way, we are familiar with transverse vibration. In the similar way, there is a longitudinal vibration. So most of your piezoelectric materials, the piezoelectric materials will vibrate in the longitudinal direction. Whenever if you pass some electricity, so it will vibrate in the longitudinal direction, not in the lateral direction or in the transverse direction. Again, for that also you have put some the videos. You can see those videos. That means imagine length of the, imagine you have the piezoelectric material of length, let it be around 10 mm is the length of the piezoelectric material. If you pass the current, so then because of this effect, piezoelectric effect, the length, imagine it is increased from 10 mm to 11 mm because of the, depending on the frequency with which the length will be increases, decreases. That is what is the longitudinal vibration of the bar. We have the bar or steel rod. So when imagine it is steel piezoelectric material, so its length will be elongated. It is elongated and compressed. Elongated and compressed. That is referred as longitudinal vibration. Some still YouTube videos are available. You yourself you can see those videos. At least you'll understand what is longitudinal vibration. So you are familiar with the vibration of the springs mass system. The mass is mounted and the mounted at some part of the spring, so it moves up and down. That is a longitudinal movement. But there are two elements there. One is spring element and one more is mass element. That will come from the discrete system. They say there is a discrete vibration system and one more is continuous vibration system. In the case of spring mass system, there is a one spring, that is one discrete element. It is not a continuous element. Then it is continuous and discrete is nothing but your water. So water is continuous, discrete is like a sand particle. Those are the discrete. We have the separate continuous equation. There is when you come to vibration also, there is a continuous vibration and one more is discrete vibration. So what vibration you studied in your dynamics of machines, it is part of the dynamic of machine. That is most of the time it is a discrete vibration because there is a discrete element. So one is spring is the one element and one more is mass system. You heard about your analog signal and analog electronics, digital electronics, etc. Like a digital electronics, there is a discrete system. And there is a separate discrete DMS also, discrete mathematical system, etc. The MCA student, they are studying DMS subject. It is required for most of packages, software packages. Discrete system is also required. The continuous system is different and discrete systems are different. Now, so we are talking about the longitudinal vibration of the bar. So bar will vibrate or its length changes with respect to time. It vibrates in the longitudinal direction. I have given the example of piezoelectric material. The piezoelectric material it is designed such a way that so it will vibrate in the longitudinal direction. It will contract and expands, contract and expands. That is nothing but a longitudinal vibration. You are familiar with the vibration of the cantilever beam. You are familiar with the vibration of the beam itself. There are some problem might have you already studied in your done some problems in your Kama lab or ANSYS lab also. In the similar way, so there is a longitudinal vibration because before going for the vibration of the beam, as per your syllabus is considered, so you have to deal with or you have to solve some problems on vibration of the beam. You have to solve some problems on vibration of the shaft. Shaft is in the rod. As first we'll start with the vibration of the bar because that is somewhat easy. But understanding how exactly it vibrates, you may have some. You have to imagine it is in simple way. It vibrate in the longitudinal direction. And one of the example is the piezoelectric material. When current is passed, the length will be increases, decreases depending upon the frequency. If the frequency of the current is 50 hertz, the length increases and decreases, or contraction and expansion takes place around minimum 50 times. That is the basic principles used in piezoelectric material. So now, when you come to bar, the actual problem. See here, you have to go for evaluate eigenvector and eigenvalues. So in the mathematics, we studied about eigenvalues and eigenvectors without knowing where exactly mechanical engineers will use those eigenvalues and eigenvectors. But now I tell you what is eigenvector and eigenvalues. When you come to vibration, so what is the mode with which the cantilever beam vibrate? It moves up and down. It flexes also. It flexes, it twists also. So that is referred to the mode of vibration. So just cantilever beam may move up, forward and move backward, like a movement of the flag. If you pull the flag, it comes backward. Believe it comes back to the original position. It moves forward and backward, let it be. That is referred as rigid body motion. Rigid body motion, there is no, it is just whole body moves forward and backward with respect to some fixed point. That is the rigid body motion. The flag post is moves forward, backward. It is mounted at the, it is comes under a cantilever beam. It is mounted at the one end. That is the rigid body motion. Then that is referred to the mode. The mode of first mode of vibration or rigid body motion. Rigid body motion is flag posted. There is no deformation of the flag post. There is no flexing or twisting of the flag post. It is just moves forward and backward. Even cantilever beam also in the initial level it moves upward and downward. So that is about the mode of vibration. That's the first mode. In the second mode, it flexes also. In between, we'll get one more mode. The third mode also, it will comes. So it will flexes up and down. Flexes or changes its direction. Like even if you can take one small thread, you pull it and leave it in the same position. It will start vibrating upward and direction. Suddenly, we can get some knots, etc. Knot like arrangement. If you see from that, similar type of videos are. Put it in the group. You can see that if possible. I put it in here in the next class when you're discussing. I'll put those videos which you can understand better. So that means the vibration. One is damping is important. The damping coefficient. Damping coefficient is given by Xi. That is nothing but a damping coefficient is Xi. So you have to find out by conducting experiment. You have to find out the damping coefficient Xi. And second one is how the system or structure vibrates. Imagine if you consider aircraft wing. So initial level, the aircraft wing will move up and down with very high velocity, or if there is a huge amount of turbulence, it not moves up and down simply, it flexes also. It is subject to both torsional loading as well as bending load. The vibration mode will be totally different. Then it may fail by fluttering. There is a one more term used in aerospace engineering. Most of the aircraft will fail by fluttering because of the simultaneous torsional load as well as bending load. So there is a totally different way of vibration. There is combined vibration. Because of that, the first wing will, because of a huge amount of deformation, wing will it will lost the wing, or wing will break. That is the fluttering of the aircraft wings. So now we required, when you come to vibration, we required how exactly the cantilever beam, with respect to cantilever beam, we can understand how exactly it moves up and down, or how exactly it vibrate. That is what are the mode of vibration. Then second one is what is the frequency with which it vibrates. How many times, in simple way, how many times cantilever beam, tip of the cantilever beam moves up and down. So that we can get it from the frequency. If the same cantilever beam moves up and down by 10 times per minute, or 10 times per second, or 10 times per minute also. If you consider your dentist equipment for drilling our teeth, etc., they'll use special, it is special type of drills. So it is drill the our tooth by vibration. The frequency of vibration is very, very high. It may be in terms of minimum 20,000 hertz or 15,000 hertz, the frequency 1 minute. So it vibrates 20 times or 20,000 times. Imagine your cantilever beam, if you say the vibration of the cantilever beam is 20,000 hertz, that is 20,000 times per second. It moves up and down, up and down. That is referred as the hertz. So that's a cantilever beam. You can imagine cantilever beam moves up and down around 10 times per second or 100 times per second or 1000 times per second. That is nothing but a frequency of vibration. That is nothing but F, or in your vibration term, it is referred as omega. We required omega, that is one. We required damping coefficient xi, and we required one more parameter, mode of vibration, how exactly cantilever beam moves. It moves only up and down, or it flexes, or it turns, etc. That is a mode of vibration. The finally, the complete summary of your vibration is, why we require to study vibration is, we require the frequency of vibration, natural frequency of the system. So you have to design such a way that if fan is running, average running speed of the fan is let it be 1000 RPM. So natural frequency of the fan should not be 1000 equivalent 1000. Let it be fans you have to run at the frequency of let it be 1000 hertz or your radial frequency. So fan natural frequency should not be 1000 hertz. If it is 1000 hertz, what will happen is the both will matches, and finally resonance will occur and the whole system may fail. So that's why you have to find out the natural frequency of the system. That is nothing but omega you have to find out in vibration. The second one is you have to find out the mode of vibration. How exactly, even in the ANSYS lab also, I think you might have studied some part where we can see how exactly cantilever beam other materials vibrate. That's the mode of vibration. And one more is omega, and one more is the frequency of vibration. The frequency of, because there are two types of vibration. One is forced vibration and one more is free vibration. Imagine you switch off the fan, pull the fan blade and leave it, fan blade may vibrate. That is natural vibration. Switch on the fan will start rotating. That is nothing but a forced vibration. Fan, in the case of forced vibration, there is a continuous force is applied. Normally we have mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx is equal to kx is equal to f or f of t. If there is no f of t, it is nothing but your natural vibration. In the case of natural vibration or homogeneous vibration, it is referred to homogeneous equation. So only system is triggered or vibration is initiated only when t is equal to 0. Like cantilever beam, you pull the cantilever beam and leave it. Then when you're pulling, the time is 0. At the time when time is equal to 0, you are applying huge amount of force. When t is more than 0, so no external force, no external forces, still it vibrates because already we have applied some amount of force. So that means we require natural frequency, the mode of vibration, and one more is xi. So now when you come to your eigenvector and eigenvalues, the eigenvector is correspond to the mode of vibration. The mode of vibration is nothing but how the system is moves up and down. That is nothing but a mode of vibration. We are talking about the eigenvalue. When you come to vibration, the eigenvalue is nothing but a frequency or natural frequency of the system. So whenever you are talking about eigenvector, when you come to vibration, eigenvector is nothing but how the cantilever beam vibrate physically. When you see from the outside, we can see how exactly it vibrates. That is nothing but a vector. Then frequency with which it rotates. So we cannot observe. We require some machines. That is frequency or omega is natural frequency of the system is given by eigenvalue. But when you come to your vibration, this is a bar problem. No external force is applied. Only bar is triggered or vibrated. So now it is simple bar, stepped bar only. It is not subject to static loading. It is subject to dynamic loading. So first part you have to find out I'll brief. Next class we'll do, no problem. Just if you have some curiosity, first as usual you have to find out the stiffness matrix for the bar. Other than stiffness matrix, there is one more matrix that is referred as mass matrix. The mass matrix, you have to remember this formula: rho 1 A1 L1 divided by 2 2 1 1 2. That derivation is there will derive. So other than your stiffness matrix, we are adding one more mass matrix. Mass matrix for the element 1, mass matrix for the element 2, then global mass matrix, similar to global stiffness matrix. Then we have to put it in one more equation. Even mathematics also, you're written k of k into x is equal to lambda into bx. In the similar way, we have k into u is equal to lambda into m. Lambda into m. You have to stop at lambda into m only, not u here. So lambda into m. It's a function of u. So if that is the equilibrium equation. So in eigenvalue problems, we are writing ku is equal to lambda into m. That is normally it is referred as k into k minus lambda m is equal to 0 in your mathematics. The same thing you can write. It is a function of u. That's why you are mentioning u also here. Here also you are mentioning u. Here also it's a function of u. This is the equation you are using in the vibration. Instead of writing kq is equal to f, you are using ku is equal to lambda into m nu. So then, as boundary condition is given, you have to eliminate first row and first column. So there is no zero boundary condition. It is like a zero boundary condition. Just you have to eliminate first row and first column. Then you have to apply here and try to get some unknown parameter. We will discuss in the next class. But finally end with your bar will not move in the transfer direction, but at node 2, the total displacement of the bar is given by, let it be 10 mm. So 10 mm distance is shown in vertical direction. Don't think the bar is not rotating in the vertical, vibrating in the vertical direction. It moves in the longitudinal direction. If you say x2 is 10 mm, means node 2 is moving forward and backward by 10 mm. Here also it is 10 mm. It is a longitudinal vibration. And second mode, it flexes, bar is flexes. So it moves up and down. This node 2 is try to move upward direction. Node 3 is try to move in the downward direction. That is the second mode of vibration. So finally, we get equation. Those things we are imagining. Thus, we are getting 1, 3. When to node 1, node 2 is moved by 1 mm distance, 1 unit distance. Node 3 is moved by, those things we'll discuss in detail. I don't want to confuse you. So next class, we'll start with the problems on that start with your dynamic analysis. Dynamic analysis, there is one mass matrix and one more is stiffness matrix. Equilibrium equation is ku is equal to k is equal to lambda into u. That is the equilibrium equation. That equilibrium equation. So here k is equal to lambda into m. That is the equilibrium equation. Only two additional equation you will remember. So one is this equilibrium equation in dynamic analysis, and one more is the mass matrix. If you remember those two, we can solve problems on beam as well as bars. In vibration dynamic analysis also, as per your syllabus is considered, you have to, there are problems involved with beams as well as bar. Only extra matrix is the mass matrix, and equilibrium equations are different. So try to see those videos I have sent. If possible, I tried. I was not able to present here, but still, it is in the WhatsApp group. URL is already sent. Just open and spend around each video, having around 3 to 4 minutes. 3 to 4 minutes video. You can listen to those, see those videos. At least you get to know what is transverse vibration, what is the longitudinal vibration. If there is no doubt, if you have any doubt, I think you can conclude. But in general, you have to remember application of boundary condition when you come to heat transfer, you have to take extra care. You should be otherwise you don't get correct temperature. If you don't get correct temperature, so your final your Q value or heat flux value become different. If there is no doubt, I'll stop the session. If you know our time is almost 3:30, that is 10:34. So, okay, thank you. We'll meet tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll continue with the same problems. I'll do one problems on bar and one more problems on beam. Then we'll go for the theoretical aspect. Then we'll understand better the theoretical equations. All equations will be better. That's why normally I'll do like that one. First I'll do one problem, the practical problem. Then I'll go for theory as well as derivations. So, okay, thank you. I'll stop the session.